If you have $20,000 in the bank and zero debt, America can still reject you, but someone drawing in a credit card debt might get approved instead. That sounds backward. It is. But every single day, people lose apartments, car loans, and thousands of dollars because of one invisible rule almost nobody teaches today. You are going to see exactly how that rule works, not through a lecture, through one story. His name doesn't matter because this story is not really about him. It's about millions of Americans who have lived this exact moment. He would finally done it. After years of saving, his bank account has reached just over $20,000. Not inherited, not won, just saved. One paycheck at a time. He skipped vacations, cooked at home, drove an old car long after his friend upgraded. He was not trying to look rich. He was trying to become financially responsible. Finally, it felt like life was moving forward. A better job, better neighborhood, better apartment. He had already imagined where the couch would go, where he would put his desk, even where which wall would hold the TV. All that was left was signing the lease. The lease agent smiled. This should only take a minute. Perfect. 1 minute later, everything has changed. The smile disappeared. She looked back at her screen, then quietly said, I am sorry. We can't approve your application. He laughed, not because it was funny, because he honestly thought she was joking. There has to be a mistake. She turned the monitor towards him. One sentence. Insufficient credit history. He stared at it. He don't get it. I've got the income. Yes. I've got the savings. Yes. I've never missed a payment. I know. Then why I am being rejected? She paused. Not because she didn't know the answer. Because she would answer this question before too many times. The system doesn't know you yet. Think about that for a second. Imagine spending years providing to yourself that you are responsible, only to discover you have never actually proved it to the one system making the decision. He walked back to his car, closed the door, and just sat there. The rejection letter rested on the passenger seat. He picked it up again. Same sentence. Insufficient credit history. Not bad credit, not debt, not bankruptcy, not missed payment, just not enough history. Which raised a question so strange. It almost sounds like a joke. How can someone who is avoided debt look riskier than someone who is buried in it? That question sent him down a rabbit hole that completely changed the way he understood money. Because hidden behind that rejection was something he would never seen before, something invisible, something that had quietly been deciding his future long before he ever walked into the leasing office. And once you see it, you will never look at a credit the same way again. Why was I rejected with the good finances? Thousands of results, hundreds of opinions. Some people blame banks, some blame the economy. Some said he needed more credit cards. Others said credit card was the problem. The deeper he searched, the less any of it made sense. Because nobody was answering the question he actually cared about. What exactly did they see that I couldn't? Imagine this. Somewhere there is a folder with your name on it. You have probably never seen it. You never held it. You didn't ask for it. But every time you apply for something important, someone opens it. Banks, credit card companies, landlords, sometimes even insurance companies. Because they are not trying to judge your life. They are trying to answer one simple question. If we trust this person, what actually happened next? That's it. Not are they smart? Not are they hardworking? Not do they deserve a chance? Just one boring question. What does history tells us? Even research for it. Open it. Inside it, almost nothing. A few basic details. His name, his address, but the pages that actually matters are missing. No borrowing history, no repayment history, no patterns, no evidence. The folder is not screaming this person is dangerous. It is whispering something much worse. We don't know. And billion-dollar companies hate one thing more than almost anything else: uncertainty. Imagine two strangers asked to borrow your car. The first has borrowed it 10 times and returned it exactly when they promised. The second has never borrowed a car from anyone. Who's the safe bet? Probably the first one. Not because the second person is responsible, because you have seen proof. That's exactly how the credit system thinks, not emotionally, predictably. Proof beat promises every time. That's when everything starts to click. The apartment didn't reject him because he was bad with money. It rejected him because, as far as the system was concerned, he was a completely stranger. And suddenly, the rejection made sense. Not fair, but understandable. The another question hit him. If every bank wants history before they will trust you, how does anyone create history in the first place? Think about it. You need experience to get a job, but you need a job to get an experience. This felt exactly the same. The financial catch 22. The more Kevin thought about it, the more impossible it seemed until he stumbled across something almost nobody talks about. Not because it's a secret, because it's boring. No flashy reward, no travel point, no video with title turn $500 into $50,000. Just one quiet little doorway hidden into the plain sight. And that tiny doorway would completely change the story written in this folder. For hours, Kevin searched for the answer. Different website, different videos, different opinions. Some people said, "Burn 3 credit cards." Others said, "Never touch a credit card." The more advice he found, the less he trusted any of it. Then he noticed something strange. The people giving the loudest advice were not talking to the people like him. They were talking to the people who already had a credit, not people starting from zero. Kevin was not trying to win airline missile. He was not chasing cashback. He was trying to impress anyone. He was just trying to stop being invisible. It required something completely different. Imagine walking into a room with a 10 doors. 9 of them have bright lights, big promises, luxury rewards, huge welcome bonuses. Everyone runs toward those doors. Almost nobody notices the 10th one because it looks ordinary. No gold letters, no flashy advertisement, just a simple sign. Start here. That's the door Kevin has been looking for. Not because it was exciting, because it was built for someone exactly like him. Someone with no story, no history, no proofs. When he opens it, there is no pile of money waiting, no celebrations, no shortcuts, just one simple offer. Show us you are willing to untrust. At first, Kevin almost laughed. The bank wanted a security deposit. Wait, you want me to give you my own money? So you will trust me with it? It sounds ridiculous. For a moment, he almost closed the page. Then something clicked. This was not about borrowing money. It never had been. It was about something system gave its first page. Remember the empty folder? For 1 month, Kevin thought he needed a higher number, better score, a different bank. He was chasing the wrong thing. The system was not asking how much money does Kevin have. It was asking, can Kevin keep one small promise over and over again? That's completely a different game. The card was not the reward, it was the pencil. Everyone, Kevin had a chance to write another sentence. Paid on time, another month, another sentence. Paid on time. Slowly, the empty folder being stopped empty. Not because Kevin got richer, because the story finally had evidence. That's the part almost every finance video get wrong. People think your first credit card is there to give you a spending power. It's not. It's there to give the system something to remember you. And suddenly, everything made sense. The apartment rejection, the empty folder, the cage 22. For the first time, Kevin was not trying to beat the system. He finally understood how to introduce himself to it. Nothing about his life changed. He still drove the same old car, still bought the same groceries, still lived within the same budget. The only difference was that every ordinary month, his invisible story became a little stronger. For the first time since that rejection, Kevin felt hopeful. He smiled. Maybe the hardest part is finally over. But it was not. Not even close. Because the day Kevin got approved was not the day he was closest to success. It was the day he came closest to making the mistake that trapped millions of people every single year. And the worst part, he had absolutely no idea he was about to make it. For the first time, Kevin stopped thinking about credit, and strangely, that was exactly what he was supposed to do. He used the car once or twice a month, gas, groceries, nothing he had already bought. When the bill arrived, he paid it. Life moved, no excitement, no hicks, no shortcuts, just ordinary days. And every ordinary day, another page quietly slipped into the invisible folder. A few months later, something finally happened. Kevin opened his banking app. There it was, for the first time in his life. He had a credit score. He smiled. It was not perfect. He didn't expect it to be, but it was a proof he financially existed. The system knew who he was. That night, he called his dad. Looks like it finally worked. His dad laughed. Told you it would work out. For the first time since the apartment rejection, Kevin believed the hardest part was over, but it was not. It started with something so ordinary, something Nobody would think twice it. His car needs new tire, nothing luxurious, nothing impulsive, just something he genuinely needs. The repair shop hands him the bill. Kevin looked at his wallet, then at the credit card. He remembered everything he had learned. Use the card, build history, pay on time. So that's exactly what he does. He pays, he drives home, doesn't think about it again. A few weeks later, he opens the app. His smile disappears. The number is lowered. Not by much, but enough to make his stomach drop. He refreshes the page. Same number, again, same number. That doesn't make any sense. He paid on time. He didn't miss anything. He didn't overspend. So why did the system suddenly trust him less? New pages have appeared. Some glow softly, one line glow brighter red. Kevin can't read it. Neither we can we. But someone can, every lender, every bank, every landlord, they all see the same story. Kevin doesn't know what charge. He only knows something did. And that's the dangerous part. Because when people don't understand what something happened, they start guessing. Some stop using credit card completely. Some panic and some apply for the three more cards. Some decided the entire system is a scam. Kevin did almost everything. His finger hover over another application. Maybe I just need a better card. He opens another website. Maybe this bank is the problem. Another article. Maybe I should stop using credit card altogether. Every answer pointing in a different direction. Everyone sound convincing and everyone pulls him further away from the trust. Because the system was not punishing Kevin. It was trying to tell him something. The problem was that something had never taught him in language. The score was not the message, it was the symptom. The real message was hidden inside the story his invisible folder was telling. And once Kevin finally learned how to read that story, everything changed. Not just his score, his entire understanding of money. Because the biggest mistake people make is not opening the wrong credit card, it's believing the number is the big thing they should be paying attention to. It is not. The story is for the first time, Kevin stopped looking for another answer and started looking for the right question. Not how do I get a higher score, but what story am I accidentally telling? That one question changes everything. For months, Kevin thought bank was judging his money. They were not. They were judging his habits. Every month, the system asked the same quiet question. If someone trusts Kevin with money today, what would his recent behavior suggest? Not yesterday, not 5 years ago. Recent behavior. That's when Kevin noticed something he would completely missed. The system was not reading receipts, it was reading patterns. The grocery didn't matter. The gas station didn't matter. The new tire didn't matter. The question was never what did Kevin buy. The question was how did Kevin handle the responsibility? Suddenly, every confusing rule start making sense. One person spent almost nothing, but forgot a payment. Another spent much more, but never misses one. The second story is stronger because trust is not built by spending less. It is building by keeping promises. That's the first lesson Kevin never forgot. Promises matter more than purchases. Then he noticed something else. One month, he used almost all of his credit limit. Not because he was reckless, because life happened. The car needed tires, the bill has to be paid. He paid the credit card off completely a few days later. But for a while, his invisible story looked different. Not broken, just stretched. It was a reminder that the system does not always know why something happened. It always knows what it can see. That realization changed how Kevin used the card forever. Not because he was afraid, because he understood how the story was being read. The, then came the simplest changes of all autopay. Not because Kevin expected to forget, because one busy month, one vacation, one sick week was all it would take for a tiny mistake to become part of a story that could follow him for years. He was not protecting a payment, he was protecting his reputation. Technology could remember even when life got messy. So he let it. There was a one more temptation. The internet kept whispering the same thing. Open another card. No, open three. This one has better rewards. That one will get better credit card for a file. For a while, Kevin believed him. Then he looked back at the folder. Every page inside it has been written by patience, not speed. Nothing good had happened because he rushed. Everything good had happened because he stayed consistent. So he ignored the noise. He didn't chase hacks. He didn't chase rewards. He protected the story that was already working. Months passed, the folder grew thicker. The pages became boring. Paid on time, paid on time, paid on time, again and again and again. Funny enough, that was exactly what lender wanted to see. Not excitement, predictability, no perfection, consistency. That's when Kevin realized the biggest lie he believed since the beginning. He thought he was trying to build a credit score. He was not. He was trying to build a reputation. The score was simply the shadow that reputation cast. Once he understood that, he stopped checking the number every week because, for the first time, he knew something the number couldn't tell him. His story had changed, and sooner or later, the system would catch up. Nothing about the building has changed. Same parking lot, same front door, same leasing office, same woman behind the desk. But something felt different. Not because the building has changed, because he had, she smiled back again. He smiled back. Yeah, that's the time. There was no speech, no explanations, no folder full of bank statement, no desperate attempt to prove he deserved a chance. He simply handed over the application and waited. 6 months earlier, that silence felt terrifying. Now it felt different because for the first time he understood what the computer was actually doing. It was not deciding his future, it was reading his past. Every ordinary month, every quiet payment, every promise he would kept one by one. The printer started, the leasing agent looked up and smiled, not the polite smile from the last time, a real one. Congratulations, you are approved. On the walk back to his car, he stopped, looking back at the building, then laughed. Not because getting approved felt unbelievable, because 6 months earlier he thought the system was against him. Now he understood something completely different. The system had never been against him. It simply didn't know him. There is a difference, and that difference changes everything. Remember this, at the beginning of this story, it was almost empty. Not because Kevin was irresponsible, because nobody had enough evidence to trust him. Today, it's different. Not because it's filled with perfect decisions, because it's filled with consistent one. That's all trust has been ever, consistency, repeated long enough that people stop wondering what you will do next. Bank call it a credit history. Employers call it a reputation. Friend call it reliability. The name change, the principle doesn't. Trust is never built in a one big moment. It is built in hundreds of ordinary ones. And that's the part nobody tells you. The goal was never on 800 credit score. The goal was never collecting credit cards. The goal was never chasing financial hack. The goal was to stop being invisible. Everything else was simply the result. If you are watching this because you have been rejected, don't assume the system is telling you you are bad with money. Sometimes it is saying something much simpler. I don't know you yet. Those are two completely different problems. One take years to fix. The other start with one account, one payment, one promise kept, and then another because one day, without realizing when it happened, you will stop being invisible too. And when that happens, the approval won't feel like luck. It will feel like inevitable. The funny thing about the trust is that by the time everyone else can finally see it, you have already been building it for months. That's how this story ended. Not with a credit score, not with a credit card, but with something much more valuable. A system that finally know who you are.